Have you ever looked at your life and thought, nothing is exactly wrong? So why do I feel so empty? You wake up. You do what you're supposed to do. You show up. You smile when it's needed. You keep moving. And yet, somewhere underneath all of that, something feels strangely absent. Like you're going through the motions of a life, but you're not really in it. Carl Jung had a name for this feeling, and he didn't think it was weakness. He thought it was a signal. If you felt this, you know how confusing it is. Because it's not like something terrible happened. You're not in a crisis. You haven't lost anything obvious. You still laugh at things. You still show up at work. You still have people around you. But somewhere along the way, something quietly left. Maybe you've noticed it in small moments. You're in the middle of a conversation and you realize you're performing it, not feeling it. You're saying the right things, nodding at the right times, but you're not really there. Or you wake up on a Sunday morning and instead of feeling rested, you feel this vague, heavy emptiness, and you don't even know what it's from. Or you scroll through your phone, finish a meal, and a call, and nothing lands. Nothing fills you up. Jung would say, this emptiness doesn't always come from losing everything. Sometimes it comes from losing yourself, so slowly, so quietly, that you didn't even notice it happening. To understand why, we need to talk about one of Jung's most important ideas. He called it the persona. Now, the word persona comes from the Latin word for mask, the kind actors wore in ancient theater to play a role. And Jung used it to describe exactly that, the mask we wear in daily life. Your persona is the version of you that knows how to function in the world. It knows what to say at work, how to act around your family, how to seem confident when you're not, how to seem okay when you're not. It knows how to fit in. And here's the thing. Jung didn't say the persona was bad. It's actually necessary. We all need a social face. We can't walk around being completely raw and unfiltered all the time. The persona helps us navigate the world. But, and this is the part that matters, there's a difference between wearing a mask and becoming one. When you wear the persona occasionally, you're fine. But when you wear it every single day, for years, and you never take it off, not even when you're alone, eventually, you start to forget there was ever a face underneath. Maybe you are the person everyone calls reliable. The one who always replies politely. The one who never makes things difficult. The one who says, it's okay, even when something inside you quietly says, no, it's not. That's not strength. That's the mask doing its job so well, you've forgotten you're wearing it. And the most dangerous mask isn't the one you wear for other people. It's the one you start wearing when no one is watching. So how does this actually happen? How does wearing a mask make you feel empty? Jung saw it playing out in 3 ways. The first one is this. You start living for approval, not for yourself. Little by little, you learn what earns you acceptance. Being agreeable, being productive, being strong, not being too much or too sensitive or too needy. And so you adjust. You trim off the parts of yourself that don't fit. You become very, very good at being who people need you to be. Think about it for a second. When was the last time someone asked how you were, and you actually told them the truth? Not, I'm good, or just busy. The actual truth. For most people, that answer comes with a pause. Because we've been saying, I'm fine for so long, we've started to believe it ourselves. The problem is, there's no you left at the center of that. You're running a character. And characters don't feel fulfilled. They just run their lines. The second way is, you stop letting yourself feel what you actually feel. You're exhausted, but you tell yourself, I should be fine. You're sad, but you think, I have no reason to be sad. You're angry, but you swallow it because anger isn't pretty. You become the person who always seems okay. And people start to rely on that. So you protect it. But here's what happens. When you keep muting your real feelings for long enough, you don't just stop feeling the bad ones. You stop feeling all of them. The joy gets quieter too. The aliveness fades. Everything starts to feel flat. And the third way, the one Jung thought was most important, is that you lose touch with what actually makes you you. You forget what you genuinely enjoy. You forget what lights you up. You forget what you believe, separate from what you were taught to believe. You get so used to asking, what do they need from me, that you've completely stopped asking, what do I need? Jung described it like this. When your outer self keeps performing, but your inner self is never heard. Emptiness becomes the cost of survival. Now here's what I want you to hear. That emptiness you feel, it doesn't mean you're broken. It doesn't mean something is fundamentally wrong with you. Jung believed it was actually a kind of message. Your true self, what he called the self with a capital S, hasn't disappeared. It hasn't died. It's just been buried. Under years of performing. Under all the expectations. Under the weight of the person you learned to be. And it's knocking. That quiet, hollow feeling, that something is missing feeling. It's not always easy to name. For some people, it may overlap with deeper emotional pain, and that's real, and it matters. But in Jung's view, it can also be something else entirely. A signal that something true inside you has been ignored for too long. Not a punishment, not a flaw. A message from the part of you that hasn't been heard in a long time, saying, hey, I'm still here. Jung wrote that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But you can't become who you truly are if you're spending all your energy being who everyone else needs you to be. The emptiness isn't here to punish you. It might be here to redirect you. So what does this actually look like in real life? Here are some signs that you might have been living in the persona for too long. You feel drained after being around people, even people you like. Not because they're bad, but because being with them requires performing, and performing is exhausting. You laugh a lot, but it doesn't feel real. It's more like a reflex than a feeling. Your life looks good on paper, but feels meaningless to you. You have the job, the routine, maybe even the relationships, and yet you feel weirdly disconnected from all of it. You've forgotten what you actually enjoy. If someone asked you right now, what do you love doing, just for you? You'd have to think for a long time. Maybe you wouldn't know. And perhaps most telling, you're afraid to be still. Because when everything gets quiet, when there's no task to complete or person to talk to, you're alone with a version of yourself you don't quite recognize. And that's uncomfortable. So you keep busy. Jung would say, that discomfort is the invitation. That's exactly where the real work begins. So what do you actually do with this? Jung didn't believe in quick fixes. He thought real change was slow and honest and sometimes painful. But he did believe it was possible. And he called this process individuation. The gradual, lifelong journey of becoming more fully yourself. Here's a gentle version of where to start. Step 1. Notice the mask. Start paying attention to when you're performing versus when you're just being. When you're with certain people, do you feel a kind of tension? Like you have to be a particular version of yourself? When you finish a conversation, do you feel relieved? Not because it went well, but because it's over. You don't have to change anything yet. Just notice. Awareness is the first crack in the mask. Step 2. Name what you actually feel. This sounds simple. It's actually hard. The next time someone asks how you are, before you say fine or good, pause for 1 second. Just internally. And ask yourself, how am I actually? You don't have to say it out loud, but practice knowing it for yourself. The more you practice naming your real feelings, the more real they become to you. And the more real they become, the more real you become. Step 3. Return to small, honest moments. Jung believed the way back to yourself wasn't through some dramatic transformation. It was through small, consistent moments of honesty. Saying, I'm tired, when you're tired. Saying no to something you don't want to do, just once. Spending 30 minutes doing something you genuinely love, with no audience. Writing down what you actually want your life to feel like. Not what it's supposed to look like. What you want it to feel like. These small moments add up. They're how you slowly, quietly, begin to find your way back to yourself. I want to leave you with this. Maybe you are not empty because you are broken. Maybe you are empty because you've been full of everyone else for too long. Full of their expectations, their versions of you, their needs, their comfort, their approval. And there's just no room left for you in there. Healing, real healing, doesn't begin when you figure out how to function better. It begins when you stop and ask, where did I lose myself? When did I start performing instead of living? What have I been afraid to feel? You don't have to answer all of those today, but sitting with them, honestly, quietly, that's already the beginning. Jung believed that the self has an enormous capacity for renewal, that no matter how long you've been lost, the thread back exists. You just have to be willing to look for it. If any of this resonated with you, If you felt this kind of emptiness where life looks normal, but something inside feels missing, I'd really love to hear from you in the comments. You're not as alone in that as it might feel.